was just a really interesting question in the Lash Tribe group, and I wanted to answer it in the form of showing you a little bit and kind of drawing it onto the board. And the answer is no, unless you are in a competition situation. But if we are beginners, we don't usually do competitions. So let's talk about the scenario of doing everyday clients, trying to make a living from it, and trying to do our lashes in a good amount of time without taking way too long. And honestly, you guys, this is a very basic beginner lesson. This is something that I teach in the very beginning of my online courses and in-person training, if it's Classic Lashes for beginners. So I'm gonna go through some scenarios, okay? So we have our client's eye here. We have some natural lashes, some are shorter, some are longer. Usually our clients' natural lashes tend to be a lot shorter. Say this is the nose here. This is the inner corner, this is the outer corner. The further we go into the outer corner, usually, and there are exceptions, but usually the lashes are quite short and weaker, they're thinner. And the same goes for the inner corner, of course, right? So lashes are starting to get a little bit shorter. In between you have lots of different layers, and then I'll try and do a different color. And I hope you can see this because it's quite far away. I might take the phone off in a minute so you can see. In between you've got, like, let's make these baby lashes, okay? These are tiny baba lashes. Usually those baby lashes are almost see-through. They're more so, they're not really a mature lash, they're very short. They are very soft and very fine. And those are the types of lashes that we want to stay away from. As soon as the lash, unless we're talking about a blonde client, but as soon as the lash has kind of a see-through color, very, very wide and almost a little bit curly and very weak, we don't want to lash those lashes. I know as lash artists, we're always trying to be really perfect and try and do everything and cover 100%. But honestly, if we were to put any lashes on this, we will damage the follicle. We can scar the follicle inside. Imagine the follicle sitting here like that, and you have your lashes that grow out almost like that, right? And if you create scar tissue in here over and over and over again, you actually restrict the blood flow to all the capillaries, because we are restricting the follicle where the lash grows out, and so it can close up and close up and close up, and then one day we have no lashes growing out of it whatsoever, or all of the lashes that we are overweighing, they are the ones that are dying off. These are the little baby lashes that I was talking about, okay? So these are the ones that usually quite see-through. So we want to stay away from those. If you have shorter lashes in between like that, it is totally fine to lash those. However, we want to follow kind of a rule. So assuming this is a natural lash, a very short one, but it's still quite strong. It's just very, very short. It kind of started to grow out of the follicle. And then we have a longer one. They are obviously 3 different growth phases: anagen, catagen, telogen. And if you want to learn more about it, of course, feel free to leave a comment. I don't really want to talk about the growth phases now. I just want to talk about what lashes we should lash. If you are lashing a lash that is super long and strong, that lash is probably in the last kind of growth cycle and they are about to fall out. So imagine this is the skin underneath. So this is the layers of the skin, right? And in here we have our follicles. Everywhere here are little follicles where the lashes are growing out, okay? Many, many, many follicles. Sometimes you have baby lashes growing out that don't get any bigger, and sometimes you have really big ones. You know, like every single client has different types of lashes. Some are long, some are not long, yeah? But if you were to follow the all-over structure, it usually, if it is a natural kind of structure, it goes from shorter and it goes a bit longer, and then in this kind of area it's longest and then it goes back to short. Personally, my natural lashes are actually quite long on the outer corner, but I'm an exception. And it's really nice to have that because I could basically wear cat eye. Okay, so we have all of our little follicles, all the lashes growing out. Okay, now let's move over here and do one little lash and one big one. We know that this lash here has matured a lot, so this is about to fall out. And this little one here is already quite strong. So imagine this is a very, very strong but very short lash, yeah? As it grows out, you can almost imagine like you have the bulb of the lash, because the lash is a cone shape, as you might know. And this is still like way down here, basically, yeah? So this is being pushed out as it grows out. So at the moment, here, this part that you see is only really this part of the lash. So it is already dark, but it is not super strong yet. Yes, we can totally put something on here, which is this part, but we shouldn't put anything on it that is too heavy. Now, there is obviously a golden rule, and every company teaches their own thing. Lash Tribe, we go 2 millimeters longer, and we try and have, say this is the natural lash, and now we're doing a synthetic lash next to it. We try and have the synthetic lash be no more than the actual thickness of the natural lash, if this is the synthetic lash, okay? This is my golden rule with Lash Tribe that I teach, and then 2 millimeters longer. So say for example, your client's natural lash is a 0.15, which is very strong, 0.12, 0.10. I always go by those, yeah? Compare a synthetic lash, hold it next to your client's natural lash, and have a look if it is the same thickness or same diameter, because obviously this is called the diameter, which basically means the thickness, diameter. So this is how I know. In the very beginning, when I just started lashing, I literally just held it next to the natural lash. And now if I look at a client's natural lash, I automatically know, oh yeah, this natural lash is say 0.12, so I don't want to go any thicker than putting a 0.12 onto the natural lash, and I can go 2 millimeters longer. Does that make sense? Now, say your client has very, very strong natural lashes, like a 0.15 or even a 0.20, which is quite rare. We can actually go a bit longer on that natural lash, but we need to drop down our diameter of our synthetic lash, okay? And this is not something that can be taught in a one-day session. This is something that you guys will get to know the longer that you are lashing, and the more clients you have and the more lashes you see in front of you, because you're not going to be able to learn what someone's lashes are going to react to your lashing like straight away. You have to have a certain amount of clients to be able to tell if they can hold a certain amount of lashes or not, okay? Let's go back to these little baby lashes that have, as you know, have grown out of the follicle, but they're only like this little, yeah, and the rest is still underneath. It's still in the follicle, it hasn't been pushed out. So say they are still like that. You don't want to put a lash on there that's as long as these ones. Of course, we don't want to match that up. So what you can do is, again, put a tiny lash on here that is maybe 2 mils longer, yeah, but make sure that your diameter is definitely no thicker than the natural lash. I actually, with those baby lashes that haven't quite, not baby lashes, but the not quite matured lashes that are still hanging in there in the follicle, haven't been pushed out yet, those ones are the ones that I prefer to lash with the lower diameter, okay, just because they're not quite as strong. But as they grow out, like for example, let's say this is this lash now going up to here. I'm sorry for my bad drawing. I'm definitely not an artist in that sense. Say this lash has now matured, it's now this one, it has come out all the way, right? And we now have our lash, like we originally applied a little lash on this one, which was a tiny bit longer and perhaps a very, very low diameter. We now have this hanging here, yeah? And you can tell if the application that you did was healthy, if this lash is still standing nice and straight and it's not like, ooh, bending down, Okay, this is the Lash Tribe method. Yeah, this is not saying that anyone else is wrong or right. This is the way I have been teaching for 4 years now. So if you have your natural lash, I'm just drawing this as like a cylinder for now. It's the easiest way to explain. This is your natural lash, and then you have a synthetic lash. See, you have a synthetic lash that's like this thick. This is not what you would want to apply on here, unless you have like half the size and you put it on just to create some depth and thickness in the base. That is acceptable, right? But if you want to go, and this is what I teach in general, if you want to go about 2 millimeters longer than the natural lash, this is what I teach is safe. Okay, sure, you can go up a bit more, but you have to be a little bit more advanced, and you need to know your lashes of your clients very well and how they react. See, this is, for example, 0.15. And then this one, your client's natural lash is 0.10. I would not put a 0.15 on a client with a 0.10 natural lash because it's too heavy, okay? So what I do is I compare, hold a synthetic lash, so this is the synthetic lash. I hold it next to the natural lash, and that is for beginners. Advanced people should know this already. Beginners can hold it on next to it and compare it. Literally just hold it next to the lash and compare how thick it is. And if you have the same thickness or less, go 2 mil longer. The less thicker you go, the longer you can go. But this is something that I can't teach in a 10-minute video. That's totally fine. You can use, what I usually like to use on anyone really is 0.10 and 0.12. These are the two diameters that I like to use because they look the most natural, and also they kind of go the fullest, because you can use these diameters on pretty much the shorter lashes as well as the longer lashes. And sometimes you can even, if you have a really, really long lash, say for example, you can use one of those and make it like the 2 mil longer, for example. And sometimes I'll use tiny diameters like 0.03 or 0.05 to kind of create a bit of fullness in this area, maybe in 5 to 6 mil. But this is where it gets really advanced, okay? Do you guys have any questions in regards to choosing lengths and diameters for your classic lashes? Again, this is what Lash Tribe teaches. This is what I teach and my trainers teach, to go 2 mil longer and no more. So if we're going back to this diagram, for example, you have your synthetic lash, so that's 2 mil longer. Well, it's meant to be like on it. So imagine it's 2 mils longer. It would look something like that, okay? Now, if you want to make sure that everything has the same size, what you need to do is you need to drop down in your diameter of the synthetic lash. So say you're going to a 0.07, for example, and you put two 0.07s on here, or one, you can actually go slightly longer. That's because it is a little bit thinner, okay? Lash Tribe sells them, my lovely. We have 0.2 in B, C, D, and DD and LC and mixed trays. If you go to lashtribeshop.com. They should last. Maybe you haven't quite got enough adhesive. The thinner the lash, the harder it is for the adhesive to actually adhere, I find, especially when you start to apply it in the inner corners. This is actually something I wanted to talk about as well. If you are in the inner corner, say for example you have, because inner corner lashes sometimes start to drop off a little bit, and then there's like huge gaps in between. What I don't do, and this is only for classic lash artists, okay? If you're a volume artist, you can fix this kind of gap, but if you're a classic lash artist, I recommend do not lash a lash that is completely out of the way, completely kind of disconnected from the rest. So I would not lash this lash because it will be even more obvious if you were to lash this, okay? It happens all the time in the inner corner. That's another thing I wanted to say. that's great. Flat lashes are awesome too. Just make sure that you're not getting flat lashes that are selling as something but they're not, because a lot of them do. So yeah, you need to make sure that they have the right diameter, and then being flattened, of course. No, look, the first thing that I always do when I have a client coming in is to look at their lashes, if they're standing straight right from the front, and then they look straight ahead and they look straight like that. If the lashes are kind of facing downwards and you're putting the wrong curl on her and making them too short as well, you will not see anything. So it is super, super important that you do use the right curl. And obviously, if you want to have a look at different styling videos, I go live usually once a week on a Friday, so that can totally happen. I've actually had that happen maybe 2 years into lashing. I had a client, and I didn't know that because I wasn't taught any better back in the day. That, like, I've been lashing for 10 years now, so 8 years ago I still didn't have any updated training, and I lashed this lady. She was, I think, Aboriginal, and her lashes were super long, and I was so excited. So I put like a C curl on her because that's what I used. C curl was the thing to use 8 years ago, or B and C actually, and even J. Terrible times. Lucky it has changed now. And I lashed her and it looked beautiful, and then she opened her eyes and I looked at her eyes and I went like, what, where are they? Like, I could not tell that she had any lashes on. She was not happy at all. She actually didn't return, and that's because her lashes were just so damn straight, and I used the wrong curl and they were pointing downwards as well. She opened her eyes, I couldn't see anything. So definitely choose the right curl. So have your clients look sideways and have a look at where their lashes are sitting. If they're facing downwards, you need to use a very strong curl, or like an L curl, but with a very strong curl on it. I use 5mm only. I don't use 5 a lot, but if I use 5mm, I use it to create an eyeliner effect. That means I will put it on top of lashes that I've already lashed. It's more of an advanced technique, which is like basically stacking on top just to create more depth, or I put it right underneath to create more depth in the lash line on lashes that have been lashed but they are very, very, very strong. Or you can also use them on extremely short lashes, of course. And 6mm I use a lot in the inner corner, or to fill in little gaps and things like that. I am only capping if I want to create certain looks, or maybe there is some gaps in between, and I cap in between to fill up the gaps. Again, as a classic artist, you should really focus on isolation and classic lashing healthily before you start to cap. This is more advanced. So M curl is basically just a softer L curl. It has a softer transition. So if this is your L part, and then this is your curl, can you see that? Yeah. So this part here is where the M curl is a lot softer, and then this part usually is not quite as curly, so it's more like that. It's still got a straight base, but then it's just softer. That's basically all an M curl is. I think it would be good to create like fox type styling, to create maybe elongate the eye shape. Just make sure if you elongate the eye shape that your client does not have eyes that are slightly downward facing, or their lashes are too short on the outer corner. If they are super downward facing, I would use a really, really strong D, like a double D or a U curl on them, and kind of sandwich the lash. And I have explained this a few times, but if this is your natural lash, you kind of apply one from here and one from here, because if you have a straight lash and a D curl, the contact area is not very big, so you kind of want to try and use two very little diameters but kind of sandwich together, so the natural lash is then kind of encased. Yeah, because if you use an L curl on really strong facing downward lashes, the L part goes down and then the curl goes up, and you won't be able to tell from the front that they're wearing lashes. If they are super downward facing, the best is to use short lashes but extremely curly on the outer corners, and then try and elongate them towards the brow bone. Usually that's what I do, but it depends, because they could also be wide set, they could be close set, they could be, like you said, very, very hooded. If you have a photo, post them underneath the post where the live lash review is on every week, and I can review a set and tell you what you can. I don't have to review a set, but you can literally just post the clients like that. I always say take a photo nice from the front, and I will tell you what styling would be best suited for them, not knowing if their lashes are strong, so basing it on naturally healthy lashes, the styling of course, but you have to adjust it according to their strength of natural lashes. I have a glam core light. Of course, you don't have to have a glam core because they are quite expensive. Most of the time people only buy them when they are on special. Of course, we have them on Lash Tribe as well, but these are good because you can bend the arms into whatever direction you want. But I know that the similar ones they have now are a little bit cheaper as well. So this is what I use on either side of the client. I usually sit them up for the photos because that way the face is in the most natural state. If they are lying down, the whole face kind of pulls back at times. Hang on, I need to lie this down because I just mucked up the base of it. There we go. And then also I have my phone in my hand, which is now filming, and then I have a little selfie ring light stuck on top of the phone and have the light on, and then I just go as close as I can basically to the client, and I take as many photos and as many angles as I can. I always try and take a photo before in the same kind of lighting and after in the same lighting, and then I always take photos of the left and the right eye. If I take the photo from the left eye, I usually go kind of across my nose or the client's nose and have them just looking straight, and then I just say follow my finger, and I literally just go like this and hold my phone, and I just see wherever it's the best, and I just leave my finger in the position. I find that guiding your client, rather than saying look up, look left, look right, and just say look at my finger, and they literally just follow it along, and then you stop in the position when you go, oh, that's the perfect position, now I want to take a photo. This is usually the best. Thank you everybody, I will be back soon. Love you all. Thank you, bye.